You're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy. My guest today is Lisa Cheek. We're going to be talking about Sit, Cinderella, Sit, mostly a true memoir. A true memoir of midlife adventure proving that magic can happen when you dare to believe in yourself, see and hear beyond the cultural differences, and open your heart to a dog. Absolutely, completely agree. This is a harmonious, heartfelt story of reinvention, of self-discovery, and at 45, being abruptly fired from her successful career editing TV commercials in LA, Lisa faced an unexpected crossroads. Just when she was ready to give up, she was offered a job editing a Mandarin language film about her original Cinderella story, filmed in rural China. With no knowledge of the language or a clear idea of what lies ahead, Lisa takes a bold leap into the unknown. Living in rustic conditions near the Tibetan border, Lisa contends with cultural barriers, homesickness, the unpredictable world of filmmaking. Along the way, she forms meaningful friendships with her translator Max and the young star of the film, Sunny. From celebrating her dreaded birthday with a cake fight to discovering purpose by rescuing a neglected dog named Cinderella. Lisa's journey transforms us in an unexpected way, told with humor, poignant flashbacks, fairy tale lens. Lisa memoir reminds us that magic happens when you step outside of your comfort zone and look beyond the cultural differences and dare to believe in yourself. Readers will be enchanted by this inspiring tale of resilience, adventure, and a universal language of hope. Wow, I love this. I love the redirect. I mean, who knew? There you are, cushy in your job, thinking everything is okay. Oh, comes the little pink slip that everybody dreads, and you're going to go to China. Welcome to the
Exactly.
show, Lisa.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
You did have a pooch on your lap, which was just gorgeous. So if he wants to come back at any time, absolutely. We love seeing doggies here. Um, and rescuing a dog in China. So that's quite a journey in itself. So there you are, plodding along, editing commercials. And I'm sure there's a lot of editing to do in commercials. And suddenly, the old proverbial pink slip, and you've got to redirect. You have to first mourn the journey that you've taken for all those years, the fear of the unknown, and what the heck do I do next? So there's all those emotions you've got to deal with before you even can see a path forward, isn't there?
Exactly, exactly. And I was 45 when it all happened and not married, but I
Hmm.
did have my best friend, my dog, Ron Howard. And so
Hmm.
I knew I had to feed both of us. So I
Yes.
needed to get a job.
Especially Ron Howard, right? They're very particular in what they like to eat, right?
Yes, he's yes, he was because he was actually he trained for the movie, he was in several commercials that I was in.
Hmm.
So he was trained to touch product, to go to his mark. He knew to come to his mark. He knew all of these like amazing commands and paid the mortgage 1 month.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yes. Well, then you definitely can have a la carte, right? So
yeah. He definitely needed to be fed.
hmm. So, I mean, I can imagine it's, they call that a cosmic two by four. The universe gives this nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Are you paying attention? You're meant to redirect. Here comes the cosmic two by four, which certainly that was. There's obviously the panic. Okay, mortgage has to be paid. What am I going to do next? How much time do you have between that and then out of the blue being offered to go to China to edit a movie?
Well, I condensed it down a bit in the book in order to get through the story.
Hmm.
But it wasn't very long. This particular director that I had worked with um had been talking about it for years. And like everybody else in Hollywood, everybody has this personal project they want to do. But you just, it's like, yeah, 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 whatever, until you get the financing and until it actually happens. It's just talk.
Yes.
And so I never thought he'd get the financing, and he did. As soon as I, was gone from the other job, I was free to be able to go to China.
Mm. Why China?
Well, he found documents that he believed that dated back to 949 AD, I believe, that
Wow.
he felt was the original telling of the Cinderella story. He thought it was a Chinese. So he wanted to, tell it that way in China. He and his wife had actually adopted two little girls from China. And so this was a very personal project for him.
Mm. And also to give all those Chinese girls that, everything goes, well, Cinderella's Western, but no, origins of China. And like, this is our Cinderella, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm. It's quite a project, but I mean, that's also quite an upheaval. I mean, could you take Ron Howard with you?
No, no, he could not go. And
Mm.
no way. I mean, for me to get to the first location was 4 days.
Wow. Wow. So they really were telling a rural story.
It was in the middle of nowhere. No one spoke English. No one spoke English. And I didn't speak Mandarin.
Right. So did you learn any while you were there?
I learned enough. I learned, hello and thank you. And um, oh, I'm so happy. And those were
Ah,
the three things I was able to like walk around and speak freely.
mm. Mandarin is my ex-husband is Chinese, so Mandarin is much easier for the English tongue to speak. Cantonese is much harder because there's more of a twang to it. So it can be learned, but it's still a very difficult language to learn.
Yeah. Well, and then I went to Hong Kong for an additional 3 months, which is not in the book. So I
Mm.
went from Mandarin to a place, I was there for three
Cantonese.
months and then went to where there was Cantonese. So
Right, yes, a very different language altogether and a very different approach to life too, really, right?
yeah.
So yes, I can imagine. So what happened to Ron Howard while you were away?
So I had a neighbor, a girlfriend of mine, who offered to take care of him. And it was just brilliant. She had a dog herself and he knew her. So it
Right,
wound up, she was willing to do 3 months with him.
right, because that's a long time being away from your baby.
It is. It's a long time, and it's a long time for someone to want to, take care of him,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yes, that's your partner, isn't it? So
Yeah.
yeah, but what did you learn in particular from doing this? I mean, the rural area, you're meeting people from rural areas, kind of really down to earth, generally honest to God people. I mean, what kind of profound things sat with you through this experience?
Well, it's fascinating because the Chinese revere old people,
Hmm.
in which I
Hmm.
was let go from my job because I told I had aged out. They were looking for
Ah,
young people, right?
uh,
So to have that contrast where I'd see all of these old people climbing up a mountain carrying, cement blocks and crazy things and just so I mean the main thing I learned certainly is that, what others think of me is none of my business and it's not you accurate,
right.
know? It's just
Yes.
not. And that age is a number our society has interpreted for us.
I had one book come out this year called Our Forgotten Children, which was an anthology around the system of that's wrong for our children. But the next one is actually Our Forgotten Seniors for that very reason, is that, all the apparatuses you have, the phone, the computer, the tablet, all these things came from seniors. And yet seniors, especially in Western society, are just deemed out to pasture, go to your rocking chair, you're no good anymore. And it's how we need to change that approach because we're actually even better with age because we know what's important now. And we've got the wisdom to go with it. So it's do not dismiss the wisdom. It's
It's so
very important.
true. It's
Hmm.
so true. And we're living so much longer. And it's so important to
Mm.
be active and to be, using your brain.
Definitely, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So it's
That's
being
right.
proactive. And we see that all the time when people retire and they don't have anything to do.
Exactly.
And then they just wither away. And so, this book you decided to write and tell your story, your experience, but does it only cover that kind of time period?
Yeah. Well, it has flashbacks of my
Hmm.
childhood. Because I'm all alone and so I'm having to deal with memories that come up
Yes.
and a feeling of abandonment and being alone and what that's like. Um, the other thing I was going to say that I learned is that kindness is a universal language.
Yes.
it's
Yes.
there was a lot of smiling, and I
Mm.
knew that these guys, I lived in a house with 14 men, the camera crew, and
Right.
myself, and they were working hard day in and day out. But there was always, a smile, and something happens to me and they wind up taking care of me. And it's just kindness. It really, I didn't understand that, I think, until I went through this experience and realized you don't have to speak the same language because kindness is it.
I always say that kindness is the currency to love.
Oh,
Um,
that's lovely.
and with a lot of people talk about currency of the dollar mark, and I think no, kindness, compassion, yeah, that cohesiveness, collaboration, and that love, that is where the abundant and true enrichment is. And but it starts with kindness. And very often kind acts to other people helps you to be kinder to yourself.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Mm. So did you find that in those reflections of flashbacks and you're all alone and you really didn't maybe have too many people to talk to about it, that it became a kind of an uninterrupted dialogue between the inner child and you today?
Yes, but I also wind up rescuing a dog while I'm there. So the dog became my confidant too. My assistant did speak English, but he was very busy all the time
Right.
and he didn't have time for me. So yeah, when I wound up rescuing one dog while I'm there, um, that gave me a companion. And
And
I
people don't understand how much dogs speak to you.
mhm.
Right? They just the way that the paw comes at the right time, the way they look at you into your eyes, or they turn their head, it's just they are constantly communicating with you on a level. Like I used to sing to my dog, have these conversations with my dog, and you always felt she was paying attention, and just her reactions back were always one where I felt she heard me.
They do. They are very instinctual.
Hmm.
They are empathetic. They're very empathetic. They know when I
Mm.
don't feel well. They know when I'm disappointed. They're here for me always and non-judgmental. It doesn't matter that I smell bad or that my hair doesn't look good.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's just pure puppy love.
It is. Oh, I love that. That's great.
And I think kind of when we talk about best friends and we talk about dogs, especially as best friend, there is a reason for that because they're also so completely loyal to you. And they are your best friends and they'll do or die for you completely.
Totally, totally. I mean, I always, when I come home, they're here so excited to see me.
Yes.
Like, I don't know any other creature that does that. Most cats
Even
just
if you've
look
just
at you
put
and
out
walk
the
away.
exactly, even if you've just put out the garbage and you've been gone a second,
It's,
it's like you've been
it's
gone
the best
forever.
greeting.
Yes. Please tell me what human welcomes you that way.
I know. I think everybody needs to have a dog. I
Yes.
really do. And I am donating a portion of my book to the rescue group where
Oh, I love
I rescued Ron Howard and where you met Elvis earlier.
Yeah,
And
Elvis is behind
all
it.
my dogs have come from there. So, yeah,
Great.
I do. I think every home needs to have a dog.
Yes, and I'm kind of waiting to get mine. It's just not the right time, but I'm itching. But I am actually over Christmas going to be looking after my son's dog while he's
Oh,
away on his
great.
honeymoon. So I've got a cat and a dog, and they both love to share my lap. So I know I'm
Oh,
going to be taken well care of.
yes, you will be. That sounds great.
Um, having that kind of companion, could you bring that dog back with you?
I did not. I wound up,
Mm.
there was another one that was left on my doorstep. I don't want to give too much of the book away, but so I wound up with two dogs that I've rescued and I found homes with them for
Oh, good.
with the crew. So I could not bring them back.
Yes, unfortunately, there's always that uh, incubation time they need and all of that. And so, yeah, it can be bad. But what you did do is by saving them and then finding them a home, you've given them a third lease on life. You were the second lease
Exactly.
on life and now a third lease on life. And so you've left a good part of you behind.
That's lovely. Yeah, no, because I went to move after we left mainland. We were editing for another 3 months in Hong Kong, so there was no way I could take them with me. Uh,
Hmm.
but I don't. I don't talk about that part in the book because really Hong Kong's just like New York, there's a 7-Eleven and Chanel on every corner there. So
Yes. Well,
it's
London has got like that. People look in the
yeah,
movies and see old Harrods and all of that. And I think go down the street and you'll see every American store there is, right? So,
exactly.
kind of loses its charm, which is a shame. So Hong Kong didn't kind of really impress you too much.
Well, I was there in the 70s and it definitely impressed me then. But when I
Hmm.
went back, it just looked very Western. And
Yeah.
I'm sure it's changing now again because of what's going on.
Hmm.
But I haven't been there since in 15 years now.
Right. Yeah. My ex was always going to take me and we never went. He said, "You're always pregnant." I said, "I've only had three children." So you can't say we're always pregnant. You just chose to go when I was pregnant. But I did go to Taiwan. And what had me gobsmacked there is everybody on scooters with their children just sitting between their legs, right? And you've got like 15 scooters all coming at you at once, and just the dodgems that were going on, and it's just like phenomenal. That try that traffic over here in North America, you'll have a pileup immediately. With,
Exactly. And there's no
with
side of the road. You just where
no. It was quite amazing. Um, I mean, Chinese food. I love Chinese food. For me, it's one of my favorites. But if, going from Western over there to have probably very rural diet, how was that for you?
awful. I complained about it the whole time because not only was it, rural food, but it was crew
Hmm.
food for, where we would have to feed up to 500 people for the
Mm.
set and whatever. So it was very minimal. A lot of cabbage and eggplant, and occasionally there'd be a little meat in there with some rice.
Mm. If it's that day in and day out, because Chinese food is just absolutely delicious, but obviously in the rural and on a budget, they're just there to feed the people. So
Exactly.
the people they have around there, were they the rural people that brought in as extras?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were all from around that area. And so there were many different dialects being spoken
Mm.
during
Hmm.
it.
And I imagine for them, this was an experience of a lifetime, never to
Yeah.
be seen again. So quite a new memory for them, they'll probably be talking about over the table for the rest of their lives.
I would think so. I think they were fascinated by us being there.
Hmm.
There's a shot I have of three women who come in and they stand behind me and just watching me because I don't know how many of them actually had computers, and to
Mm.
see a woman actually sitting and working day in and day out
Yeah.
in this manner. I
Yes.
think was quite unusual for them because they're used to, taking care of the family. They work hard. They work so
Hmm.
hard. The
Hmm.
women there, I was in awe of every woman I met there because they was mind blowing. Not so much with the
And they
men
work right into old age. They work basically until they can't work anymore. So
until right.
yeah, yeah.
They do. And I will say in my last location, I talk about how the women are the ones who are carrying all the ambo cases and everything down an hour walk down this mountain. And we get there and all the men are sitting around playing mahjong, smoking and drinking.
Yes. That rings a bell. Yep. And yeah, and who says women are feeble? It's
Right.
just. But we are in the era of
Exactly.
women rising up. Sisterhood rising up. I think we're here. I call it the common sense love, where women are stepping up and saying, "Look, men, you've had your games. There's chaos and disruption here in this household. We're rolling up our sleeves with common sense love and going to put it right." So I think we're in that era right now. So obviously this was 15 years ago, but why write the memoir now?
It's funny. I was actually told by a psychic to write this book.
No, right, no, no.
I'd gone to
Uh,
talk to this woman because my father had just died, and she was wonderful. She told me that my father said that heaven has the best library, just in case you're interested. But along,
Wonderful.
but along with that, she said, you've done this journey and you need to write a book about it.
Mm,
So I did.
yeah.
And a lot of people had been telling me I needed to, or to write a
Mm,
screenplay. And I'm just so grateful I did. I'm grateful I took the time because it's super sweet and it makes me feel good. And I think it makes my reader I mean, the response I'm getting is really so heart. It's just it's just beautiful. I just can't get over the connections one makes with a
mm,
book, right?
yes.
I was used to
Yeah.
films and other things, but not like when somebody reads your book and they call you up and they say, "Oh, right, this is really, it made me feel good. It was a happy memoir." And
The different form of connection. And I find a book is a book. A book keeps on giving. Right? It's one of the greatest gifts you can give people as a book because you can read the book today and you feel one way about it. You can pick it up and read it another day, and it's teaching you something totally different, depending where you're at. I'm very much into book clubs where people share what they're getting out of it, and each person will have something else
Mhm.
that they're getting out of it. And I push people to have podcast parties where they listen to the podcast, take notes, and then share because this person, oh, this resonated with me and somebody that resonated with me. And now you're getting a bigger picture, a smorgasbord that everybody's dipped into. So, the thing about a book is something that it was one of the greatest gifts because it is where do you relate to it? That's the personal thing, the intimate thing. You can have a dozen people all read the same book, and each one of them will have a different reaction because it's how they related to the book and what it did for them. So it must be, the book isn't out yet, but it's going to be fascinating when people do come out. And I encourage people who listen to this and they get the book to actually reach out and share where it touched you, where it became a relatable.
Yeah, I think that has been the biggest gift, is to realize too that we're not alone.
Hmm.
When you read somebody else's book or a memoir or something and you see an experience that maybe you didn't have that experience, but you had that emotional experience,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And that is it's the magic, I think, that brings us together, is that we're like, oh, somebody gets it. Oh, I get that.
Yeah.
Like I've done that before. I've been there, or I know how that feels. And that feels less alone. It makes you feel
Yes.
like, we're all one more. We all have these feelings.
Yes, the less alone, really important because most of the time when people are going through anything that is upsetting, disrupting, or traumatizing, we feel alone. And when we hear somebody else's story, read somebody else's story, that connection to, well, I'm not alone. And this is how this person got through it. Or this is the experience this person had. If I am willing to open up and have this experience, where will I be? And I think a lot of our problems, especially in Western society, is this idea that we've got to be here by this year, there by that year, and instead of just taking the wondrous journey of life and seeing where it takes you, because I'm sure China was not on your list when you
No,
started your career.
no. And I will say, the last point about what I really got out of the experience and writing it down, and that's life is an adventure,
Yeah,
and to be open to the magic, be open to, because I had the most extraordinary time and I knew it when I took the job. I took the job because I was like, this is going to be an experience unlike anything else I've ever done. I just didn't know, like I said, that I was going to wind up writing about it and sharing it
yeah.
in this way with people. And it's really a wonderful, it's just been, it's just super fabulous. I just love it. I can't wait to write the next one.
Mm. Well, before we talk about the next one, will people be able to access the movie from before, or is it kind of been and gone?
I've been told that it is available. I had one of my early readers tracked it down. So it's out
Mm.
there.
In
And
Chinese, but does it have
it is in
subtitles?
Mandarin. Of course, it
Hmm.
has. I'm not sure what versions you can find. I have not investigated it. I guess I should. Thank you for bringing it up. I should look and see what's available. But it was originally titled, or last thing I knew, it was titled Cinderella Moon, and it
Mm.
was in Mandarin with. And at one point, I think they dubbed it in English, but I don't know. It's been a while now.
I'm a person who likes the authenticity of the language because you've got the tones and the rhythm and things and just subtitles. I don't even know I'm reading subtitles for me, just I'm reading it, but I get immersed into the energy of it. And sometimes the dubbing is like they throw you off completely because they've just gone and dubbed something that doesn't make sense. So
And
it's nice if it.
you're busy focusing on the fact that it's not fitting in their mouth.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Yeah. When I first started dating my husband, he would take me off to Chinese movies that would be dubbed. not dubbed, subtitled, or dubbed. But yes, I used to get, what the hell is saying? Just watch it. And I go, no, no, that didn't make sense. So, I mean, having this Cinderella story, I mean, it's like for him to come up with it in the first place, to actually go and do it, but also the timing of it. Don't you love the timing of it? You one door closed on you, and this guy had been trying for how long to get the funding to go and do this movie, and suddenly this door opens for you. And it's just like, just chill out, folks, because when we chill out and just trust the universe and allow, those doors will always open when we least expect it, right? But if we're in a panic, we're not going to see the door that is in front of us.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so, so true.
Perfect timing, and but divine timing. That's really what it is.
That's
Yeah.
it. We will be cared for. That's, learning that, because I think another part was I didn't trust that I would be taken care of,
Mm,
totally based on, how I eventually, when I first got there, my assistant left, he had to be on the set and, no one could speak to me. And, so I think I was very worried that my needs were not going to be taken and I was very alone, which is
mhm.
probably what motivated all the memories that came forward was, all of those feelings from childhood.
Perfect therapy,
Mhm.
forced therapy.
Yes, it is. It is.
And you were getting paid at the same time. Is that, I
When
mean,
you're
to pay
alone with your,
anyone?
yes.
So again, another bonus that you never thought would come out. But that's what I think makes it so when we're so present in our presence, what doors open for us and that we need to, what comes to us is something we need to heal or something we need to be aware of. And we're so busy every day, rushing around, doing, that we forget to be. And, when we can be present with ourselves and just in that moment, whatever comes up is something you're meant to deal with. But half the time it's tapping you on the shoulder and we're not paying attention. So you were given that gift, although probably didn't feel like it at the time, but in retrospect was a gift
Oh,
to
totally. It
reflect.
was the most beautiful gift.
So you're in the process of writing another one?
I'm writing two more. One is about one night of my life, and the other is about 10 days of my life. The
Oh,
adventures I had there.
oh, where's the one day of your life? Where was that adventure?
Well, it's about getting married at 49 for the first time.
Wow, good for you.
After China, I came back and said, okay, I think I can get married now.
Well, you had a breakthrough, girl. I think I need to go to China. My cousin got married just before her 50th birthday. She said, I'm going to be married before 50. So she married at 49. So, I mean, and also marriage at 49 is very, very different than it is at 20 or even 29, right?
Very much. I would think. I don't know. I wasn't married then, but I do know that I had a lot of growing up to do and to be a good mate to somebody. And I found somebody who I, you know, thought would be able to do the time with me. Right?
Do the time. Sounds like you're both in jail.
Oh, right. I know, but it's
Well,
lovely
life can feel
because
like that sometimes.
I hear you. But I think what's so great is I'm able to wake up every morning and I look at it and I go, okay, I'll do another day with you.
Yes,
And that is great freedom and to be able to do that
huge.
and go, I like you. I'll stay around for another 24 hours. Will we evaluate again tomorrow?
And I kind of like that approach because I have woken up going, "Oh God, you're still here." Oh God, how am I going to get through today? And so, nobody wants to be in that position. So to be able to look at your partner and go, "Yeah, I'll do another day,"
Mhm.
it's a good way. And it's also kind of in a sense, I wake up every day with gratitude. I'm awake, thank you. Right. And so it's a form of gratitude for you to wake up every day. Okay, yep, I'll do another day with you. Thank
Yeah.
you,
I like you,
for
right?
sending me the
Exactly.
mate. Yeah. Which is cool. So what's the 10-day one about?
The 10-day one is I wound up marrying a man who owned a vineyard.
Mm.
And so I took up drinking. So it's about getting sober on a vineyard.
Ah, so you took up drinking and got sober,
Yep.
right? Yes. Yes, I lived in South Africa for a number of years and used to work for the
Mhm.
wineries and the wine would just flow. So yes, I know how easy that is. So yeah, another interesting journey. I love the fact that you've taken not a lifetime, but sections of your life that really were important moments and you're writing about that and obviously really sharing the true depth of the emotion of what each of those days have had on you.
Yeah, I feel like I have something to say about it. Like, what did I learn? What did I
Hmm.
write? And I think that's what you want when you read somebody's memoirs. You want to know that they've grown and what they learned from that experience, right?
Yes. Yes. And for I don't know about you, but I think especially with your Cinderella kind of more of the therapy type thing, but when I wrote mine, I wrote it because people asked for it. And for me, it's done, it's out there, it's gone. And another chapter in life. But it was also kind of um, when you're rereading what you've written, because I just let my fingers write. And then you're rereading and you go, oh, 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 all those things that kind of come at you. Did you have any of those as you reread your pages after you'd written it and go, I was unaware or I didn't know the impact that had on me?
Yeah, it's funny because I'm actually recording the audiobook right now.
Hmm.
And it's given me some distance from, having read it and been in it and doing what I need to do. And I'm like, oh, wow. And of course, I'm with the audio man who's like, oh, this is really, wow, that happened. And oh,
Yeah.
I could relate to that. And, so I've been able to sort of look at it and go, oh, yeah, that did happen. Right. Even though I wrote about it, you
Yes.
forget. Right.
Yeah. It's almost like it's spent once it's on the page.
Yeah, I get that now. I see where people and writers, especially, they
Mm,
just move on. And I
mm.
mean, supposedly we're still writing about the same thing. That's what I hear. We'll find out with mine if I am. But yeah, I feel like I'm done with that part of my life now. And it's very hard because now I'm promoting it and I'm
Yes.
working on these other two, right? So I have to go back and go, is that in that book or is it in the other
Yes, yes.
book?
Yes, yes. I put out my memoir, and then I was in three other books as an anthology, and so it's like promoting all four books at the same time. So, and somebody said, "You wrote in this book in this chapter," and I did. You're going to have to, because I'm very much a person. Once I've spent, and I don't kind of necessarily revisit. And so you're going to have to tell me what you're talking about because I don't retain it once it's down.
Right.
So, and that's just me, I think, but it's like I'm on to the next. So there's always so much more to either write about or speak about, isn't there?
Oh,
So
very much so.
I'm going to be very interested to, how people will react to this as far as, not just the experience we're doing this movie in China and the rural area, but a lot of people always think that Chinese people are very repressed, or, very still Mao, Mao regimented and in a lot of ways still there. But, you know, have you had any questions from people about, how the Chinese people are in the sense of their freedom, the sense of their choices? I
Well,
mean, as you said, no computers up there. I mean, do they have anything modern up where you were, or were they
well,
completely still in the last century, centuries before?
what I found most fascinating was I was in the middle of nowhere with these rice fields, and you would hear everybody had a mobile that was going off, or people were talking on their mobile. It was quite amusing in that way. But I don't recall seeing a computer with any of the people in the guest houses. I stayed in 5 guest houses, and I don't recall seeing any of them have a computer that was actually there. I mean, we brought all of ours in, and so if anything broke, which happened, and we were
Mm-hmm.
down, we had to fly things in. So
Mm,
it wasn't, it was a couple of days we'd be down. But yeah, they were much, and that's the other thing. And things life was much simpler.
yes.
They had very few things, which Americans are all about consuming, and we all have
Oh,
too much stuff, right?
yes. Yes. Way too much stuff. I mean, this is I put out shows every Christmas about, the etiquette of shopping, being kind to the people behind the desk there. If they're out of stock, it's not their fault.
Right.
Be nice and do you really need to buy that? I'm always saying to people, choose a charity and donate to the charity in that person's name, right? Let gift means something, kind of form of regifting. So yes, we do the grandchildren, and then I buy always frivolous, fun things to just to open, right? Because I still like people to open gifts at Christmas. That's the old fashioned in
Mm.
me. But what I've heard from other countries of people, that especially women in countries where having the phone, they can now actually open up a business and work through the phone. And that liberates them and gives them the freedom. Many of them in many areas, they don't have to marry. They can be independent and support themselves and choose what they want to do because through the phone, they can actually set up a business and literally do everything through there. So maybe that's something that would liberate some of those, and they would get out of the field, the rice paddies, and go and do something else. I mean, I'm sure they would have been inspired by you, by, if a woman can do this, is the do, is this something I can do? So,
Well, they certainly, like I said, they ran all the villages. They were in
mm,
charge. It was a very eye-opening experience for me because I
mm,
think with their male leaders that we tend to think,
mm,
right? But to see who really runs the scene when you're there, it's like, oh, it's all the women. And it's like I said again, it's ageless.
yeah,
Everybody's, you can't,
hmm,
they're just everybody's walking up the mountains like for
yeah,
several miles. I was
yes,
huffing and puffing behind them. And like, it's just a probably a much better way of life in many things
mm,
because they're not so distracted with all the stuff.
yeah.
And, they live simply. And that's um that's something I would like to do a little more of.
There's one thing I've really have known, been doing this 12 and a half years and so many shows and just observation of life, is that so many people, especially in Western society, have forgotten how to have joy,
Mm,
simple joy. And when you are where your daily life is really about your survival, if you don't get to the mountain, you don't get the whatever, you have things to do in order to maintain your life that day. Any thing outside of that is joyful. And so they know how
mm.
to be grateful for that joy and really immerse themselves in that joy. And I think we've become kind of complacent and don't know how to be joyful anymore.
So true. So true. And for me, from what I was able to see in the little villages, is that everybody knew everybody, right? And
Hmm.
that's sort of gone in our society, or
Ah,
at least in LA, I live, everybody has a big fence around their house.
mhm.
It's not like, I'm out walking my dogs, I meet people, but it's not like I could tell you I know my neighbors or anything. It's a
No,
very different existence where they know everybody.
I know. Yeah, literally my show out this week is about immersing yourself, because this is a time period where so many people are lonely. And it's like, go and join something. There's so many, places that are needing help right now. On Christmas Day, if you're going to be alone, they go down and volunteer at the churches, or the people that, help the homeless, or help with all the toy drives. And and it's not just being proactive and doing something, but it's also meeting other people. And then, from there, sharing phone numbers. I've just moved into a kind of a retirement community. Everybody here is retired, but a lot of us still work. But it's about being proactive. And I've literally met one or two and said, let's go for a ladies' night. So
Mm,
somebody's always got to step up and orchestrate. But we've forgotten how to do that just simple gathering. And it's like, "Oh, I don't want to bother somebody. What if they say no?" Well, then they said no. We go on to the next and see who says yes. Go out and have fun. And I think we've forgotten how to do that. And I think sometimes these rural places are a great reminder of just simplicity of joy.
exactly. And I was going to say I volunteer for my local library branch right now.
Mm,
And I show up every week and do what needs to be done. And I got an email this week from somebody who says, "Oh, you have to meet this person."
hmm
And I would constant connection of being with somebody, or I want you to meet this person or that person. Or when I was volunteering for the rescue group every Saturday with the dogs, I would
mm,
meet people all the time. And it makes you get out of yourself and
yes.
and make the world a better place for others.
So ultimately, this book, you've told the Cinderella story, and it's been your journey, that redirect and rediscovery. But if you had to summarize who you were going in and who you are, coming out of it, or who you are coming out of it, how different were you?
That's such a great question. I think going in, I was a very scared person.
Hmm.
And I think coming out of it, I just learned to trust. And that I really do. I think I found that the universe had great plans for me.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, every day it just gets better and better and better. I can't believe it's my life. So,
That's excellent. I would say when you allow, it appears. I was to say when you're aware, you care. And I think a lot of the problem we get, especially Western society, is we're unaware of literally what is happening around us. And very often we just don't care because we're unaware. When we're aware, it's if you don't care, what does that say about you? And also that when we are present and allow, the universe always delivers. China, your end of your job. Well, now you're going to China. Oh, now I got to come back and find a husband. So, so it's allowing, right? Allowing those doors to open up in front of you. And if we're worried and angry or depressed, we're crunched down, there's no energy, no chi running through us. And when we open up, open up the chakras, open up our whole presence, and I am ready and willing to accept, even if it's a door that you don't particularly want to go through, it's generally for a reason. It's there to prepare you for the door that's just going to give you everything.
so true. It's so beautiful. I love it. No, it's every day. Like I said, my life just keeps getting better and better once I learn to trust.
Yeah.
Once I knew that I was going to be provided for, I was not alone. It was like, oh,
And your husband, obviously, he didn't know you at that time, reading your book now. I mean, there has been revealed quite a bit about you that maybe you hadn't said. Has his reaction been to the book?
I love that you're asking this. My husband hasn't read the book, but he does. It's so funny. He's not a reader, but he listens to audiobooks, like two or three a month.
Mm.
So, as I said, I'm in the middle of recording mine. He
Mhm.
will be the first person who will listen to my audiobook, which I'm quite excited about to see what he thinks about.
Yeah.
Because I'm quite curious. That was one of the things we met online, and one of the reasons why I actually had lunch with him, I thought, because normally I would just say, I'm walking my dog, let's meet and see,
Hmm. Hmm.
if you even look like your picture and like, right?
Yes.
So no one
Four
spent any
foot, not six
money.
foot.
Exactly. I've had people who, posted a photograph that was 15 years older, I mean, younger than what he was. So, but the one thing on my husband's on his profile was that he had spent time in Hong Kong. And
Mm.
so I thought, well, I could at least have something to talk about him,
Hmm.
over lunch. I could get through a lunch with him, not dinner, not, but I
Hmm.
could do
Yeah.
lunch.
Baby steps. Yeah. So it's a slightly bigger step than meeting with the dog. And so kind of, taking a little broad, but that's the thing, you don't know who you're going to meet, even
Mhm.
if you're introduced, right? And you need a kind of a common denominator there of an interest. As you said, the door opener to the conversation. And obviously that conversation went very well.
Yes, it did. It did. Yeah,
Now, would the old you have allowed that process to open that door?
oh no, no, not at all. Not at
Mm,
all. And that's why it's like every experience, leads us to the next because hopefully
yeah,
we've learned something. And like I said, for me, it
yeah.
was about just being opened. I mean, I dismissed him for all the wrong things. I dismissed him because, he weighed too much, he ate too much, and he lived in the valley. And
Uh-huh.
it was like, really? Are any of those things important? And as soon as I
Exactly.
accepted him for who he was, he lost 100 pounds. We're still living in the valley, but I think we'll be leaving soon. So it's like, they were just such superficial things. And again, it's one of the things I get to share in my new memoir about, you know, how, if we accept people for who they are, then they're allowed to grow and change, right?
You're right. And, very often people are kind of stuck where they are because there isn't somebody to grow for. And I don't believe that somebody's there to complete you. They're
Right.
there to complement you. But when you're in with the right person, you egg each other on in a
Mhm.
positive way that goes like, yeah, you know what? I can spread my wings.
Mhm.
I can be more wondrous. I can be more exploratory. And it just, because of that support, it allows them to explore more and grow more and look deeper into themselves where they may have been stuck just on their own.
Yeah, no, he definitely has shown me how to be a much bigger person.
That's
And I
wonderful.
love that. He's helped me
Mm.
grow into doing things I never imagined I could do.
And I'm sure for him too.
I don't know about that. You'll have to ask him.
I would be interested to know what he thinks of the book because um, I introduced my son to his now wife, and I interviewed her, and he's never listened to the interview. Um, but you know, it's he just wants to know her in the way that he knows her,
Mhm.
right? So because she was talking about her ex-husband and her life there, so for him it's like no, it's where we're going. So he wanted to do that. But yeah, it's I think that's the thing in life. We've got so things like live life by numbers, like paint by numbers. And we've got so used to like, what's your 5-year plan? I have no idea. No idea. I just, one foot in front of the other. I know that I've got love to accomplish A, B, C, and D, but when and how and with whom, I don't know. That's part of the journey. That's part of
Mhm.
the discovery, right? And
It's
when
the
you go on,
adventure.
it is.
Mhm.
What if we, if we want everything safe, sometimes we've got to go through the brambles, to get to the right path. And it's like, please be adventurous because that exploratory nature will have you discovering things about yourself, where you belong, what your meaningful purpose is, what life is all about. But it doesn't happen unless you get on that journey.
No, and it's interesting because I thought I was very well traveled. I've been all over Europe. I lived in actually Johannesburg, South Africa,
Oh, I
and
lived from South Africa.
oh,
I lived in we called it Jailberg. Hellbrow
Joburg.
Jailberg.
Oh, that's funny,
We call
Joburg.
Hellbrow Jailberg.
So, I thought I was quite well traveled and knew what I was getting into, and I had no idea. I had
Mhm.
absolutely none. And that's probably another thing I learned on the other side is I have no idea about anything. I don't know anything. The older I get, the more I realize I don't know what I think I know,
And you only need to know what you need to know.
right? And that doesn't
And
really
what you
need to
don't
be a
need to
whole
know, you
lot.
don't need to know it. Yeah. It's, you know what? Always that's very, very interesting. Okay, I know that information, but I don't need to take it on if it's, doesn't fit within my puzzle of life, right? If it's the wrong piece, don't just put it in there because it's the right shape. But, that's the thing is be open to explore whatever you are. I mean, I've met people, I've just moved here 7 months ago where I am on the island, Vancouver Island. So I've just moved to a place called Nanaimo, which is beautiful. It's,
Mm,
lakes and parks and trees. If you don't like green, don't come here because there's green forest trees everywhere. Very, for me, very nature-based. Hummingbirds and deer outside my window, which I love, right? But there are people that were born and bred here and they've never been anywhere. I can't relate to that. I've lived in 4 countries and traveled God knows how many, and I can't relate to that. And some part of me kind of wishes I had, that kind of routine, that settlement. And I know it's not me. I've got wings and they were always meant to fly. So, you know, it's maybe they're a little bit more tattered these days and I'm not willing to go on such adventures, but we can adventure through this, right? So there's always ways of doing it. So I'm so glad you took your journey. I'm so glad that you said yes and just have written about it and how it's opened up doors to meeting your husband, to discovering yourself, to what's next, and just, allowing because that's when the true nectar comes through, is when you allow and don't dissect when it comes, right? It's allowing it and it goes, okay, let's just see where this takes me and not dictating, but allowing and following where it's meant to take you.
yeah, and a lot of it too is acceptance, accepting what
Hmm.
really is,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Right. Now, why the title Sit, Cinderella Sit?
It's funny. I definitely wanted to have Cinderella in the title because it just needed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And with all that, I have 3 dogs in the book. So between that and the fact that I was a film editor and all I ever did was sit, I sat, hours, days, weeks, months. It just felt like the most appropriate title ever.
Yes. 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 Absolutely. And of course, so you've got Ron Howard. Is that Ron Howard in the book?
Ron Howard, and then I pick up a Cinderella,
Hmm.
who I wind up rescuing, and then like I said, there's a third that shows up.
Neat. Wonderful.
Mhm.
So dogs everywhere are going to love this book.
Totally, totally. No one dies.
Great.
Everybody's happy. Yeah, it makes you feel good. Happily ever after.
That is exactly what we want. My brother's an author and he always has a dog in his book. And he said the
Mhm.
biggest nightmare is getting dogs through a situation that humans can get through. But how do I get the dog through it alive? You
Mhm.
know, but there's always a dog in every book because
It's
that's his
so
best friend.
important. I love
Yes.
that. And I love
Yeah.
that he has his dog, because I think there's nothing better than having a companion like this.
Yeah. No, he doesn't actually have one. He's got a friend that keeps giving him one. And I keep saying, get a dog, get a dog. And that
But
it's
he writes about it.
Barrett's Vader.
I
Yes, the
love it.
dogs are always in there, and they've always got sensational characters, so which is great. And dogs do. Let's look at our dogs. They're trying to talk to us. Get out of your own ego and self-importance, and let the dog show you on itself, right? Because that's the beauty of it. So, how do I know this book only comes out officially in January? So, how do people pre-order the book? How do people get hold of you if they want to reach you?
Oh, well, they can pre-order at any of their local bookstores or Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any of the big bookstores. It's available everywhere. And my website is lisacheek.com.
And
Just
lisacheek.com,
like the side
folks.
of your face.
Yes. She won't turn the other cheek. Nope. And she's on Instagram, Lisa Cheek Author. She's on Facebook, Lisa Cheek. She's on, oh, we've got two Instagrams here, so I'll take one out. Any other place that you're on, love?
I'm on Substack. I actually do a newsletter every week or every 2 weeks. And it's just lisacheek.substack.com.
Excellent. So again, there you came, your career closed book. What am I going to do now? And China opens up the door and everything revealed and discovered through that. Just the whole beautiful cascading of things that happen to you after that. So it's just like be willing, I always say, take the leap, blind, deaf, and dumb in order to hear, see, and feel.
Mhm.
And we have to do that sometimes, don't we? Because, to really kind of connect and know what is important and where you need to go next.
So many magical things happen if you just are open for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're at the season of magic. So whether you can gift this book right now for Christmas, what you can do is give somebody a Christmas card and in it say, I've ordered the book for you in your name and it will be delivered to you come once it's out, because a book is one of the greatest gifts that you can give for Christmas at any time, because a book keeps on giving. You can reread it again and go on a totally different story. You can connect with it. It can reveal something about yourself. You can learn things that you never knew. It just broadens your entire world. So a gift, keep on giving. Gift the book of the pre-order for Christmas because we're in a magical season. So share a magical book. Absolutely.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa, and for being brave enough to take the journey. Not everybody would go to China or into a rural mountains, being the only woman up there. Some people would say you're crazy, but I would say you have to be a little crazy in order to get through this life, right? So
Yes,
nothing
very
ventured,
much
nothing
so.
gained. Absolutely. So thank you so much. And to everyone else out there that's on the brink of something, or the door is closed, don't panic. Take a deep breath, sit in it, just relax in it. Be present because I guarantee you a window or a door is going to open for you and you have no idea what's on the other side, what journey you need to take in order to get to the door that's going to change your life. But be willing to take it. So until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tab at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.